There is an absolute, undisputed law of modern architectural engineering when it comes to constructing massive, high-capacity sports arenas. You build them on solid, stable, predictable ground. You build them in the center of cities, surrounded by concrete infrastructure, where the earth can easily absorb the immense dead weight of thousands of tons of structural steel and the kinetic, shifting energy of 60,000 screaming fans. But on the jagged, typhoon-battered coastlines of China, civil engineers decided to completely shatter this fundamental rule of physics. They initiated a terrifying $300 million industrial campaign to build a massive, state-of-the-art megastadium, not on land, but thrust directly out into the hostile, dark, and violent waters of the ocean. This is not a floating barge or a temporary aesthetic gimmick. This is a colossal, 63,000-seat concrete and steel fortress surrounded on three sides by the raging sea, where the football pitch sits precariously close to the dark, crushing abyss of the deep water. To understand how humanity achieved this impossible feat of marine engineering, you must understand the sheer, unadulterated violence of the ocean and the heavy industrial warfare required to conquer it. Building a stadium of this magnitude in the middle of the sea is not just an architectural challenge, it is a relentless, multi-billion-dollar battle against corrosive saltwater, hurricane-force wind shear, and the terrifying hydrostatic pressure of the deep. The genesis of this impossible deep-sea stadium began with an act of total geographic manipulation. You cannot simply pour a concrete stadium foundation into the shifting, muddy, and unpredictable ocean floor. The engineers had to literally create solid earth where absolutely none existed. This initiated the most aggressive phase of the project, the ocean reclamation assault. A fleet of colossal trailing suction hopper dredgers, massive industrial marine vessels that operate like apocalyptic vacuum cleaners, were deployed into the bay, operating 24 hours a day in heavily churning waters. These mechanical leviathans dropped massive steel dragheads deep down to the ocean floor. With terrifying hydraulic suction, they violently ripped up millions of tons of ancient seabed sand, crushed rock, and submarine mud. This thick, black, abrasive slurry was pumped directly into the hulls of the ships, transported to the construction zone, and then violently blasted out of massive high-pressure cannons directly into the ocean. Slowly, violently, an artificial peninsula began to rise from the dark waters. But dumping millions of tons of sand into the ocean is useless if the ocean simply washes it away. To protect their newly forged land, engineers had to construct a massive, brutalist perimeter seawall. They deployed giant crane barges that dropped thousands of colossal, interlocking concrete tetrapods along the edge of the artificial island. These bizarre, multi-ton concrete structures are specifically designed to absorb and shatter the immense kinetic energy of rogue waves and storm surges, acting as a heavy-duty armor plating for the vulnerable sand behind it. Once the perimeter was secured, heavy vibro-compaction rigs were driven onto the wet, unstable sand. These towering machines drove massive vibrating steel probes deep into the reclaimed earth, shaking the ground so violently that the loose sand particles compacted together, transforming the soft, muddy ocean fill into an ultra-dense, load-bearing artificial tectonic plate. But even highly compacted artificial land is utterly incapable of supporting the colossal weight of a massive concrete stadium bowl. The sheer mass of the 63,000-seat structure would instantly cause the reclaimed sand to undergo a terrifying process called liquefaction, turning the ground back into a liquid state and swallowing the stadium whole.
Keep it moving, we're almost clear on this section.
Watch the vibration on the edge. Bring the hose back towards the center.
The ocean on three sides. A medium close-up of the ocean against the stadium base. An extreme close-up of the ocean at the stadium edge.
Bring it down slowly, watch the alignment.
Torque wrench engaged. Holding steady.
Hold it steady right there. Yeah. Looks aligned, go ahead and secure it. Engaging the ratchet.
Deflection is increasing rapidly at point 4. We are approaching maximum tolerance.
Lower it slowly now, watch the edge. Easy, easy.
Watch the seam on the left.
Okay, pull it tighter over here. We need more infill by section 4.
We've reviewed the stress points and the raw concrete finish.
Everything is within tolerance. It's approved.
We're almost there. I can feel the energy from here.
I know. It's absolutely freezing, but it's worth it.
prevent this apocalyptic scenario, the engineering team had to anchor the stadium not to the sand, but to the ancient subterranean bedrock lying deep beneath the ocean floor. This required a massive marine pile-driving operation, a fleet of heavy-duty jack-up barges, massive floating platforms equipped with colossal hydraulic hammers moved into position. With deafening, rhythmic violence that echoed across the ocean for miles, these massive hammers drove thousands of heavy, thick-walled steel pipes straight down through the artificial sand, straight down through the ocean water, and deep into the solid bedrock of the Earth's crust. But driving the steel was only the first step. To create the ultimate, indestructible marine foundation, engineers had to fill these colossal steel tubes with concrete. Pouring concrete underwater is a thermodynamic nightmare. If standard concrete mixes with seawater, the salt instantly destroys the chemical bonds, causing the concrete to crumble like wet chalk. To overcome this, engineers utilized a highly specialized Tremie pouring method, pumping a custom-engineered, ultra-dense marine-grade concrete directly into the bottom of the steel piles. As the heavy concrete filled the tube from the bottom up, it displaced the seawater, pushing it out the top and perfectly sealing the steel foundation deep within the bedrock. With the subterranean anchor locked in place, the massive concrete skeleton of the stadium bowl began to rise above the crashing waves. However, the atmosphere directly above the ocean is a highly toxic, corrosive environment for structural engineering. The sea mist is saturated with microscopic salt particles, and when salt penetrates standard concrete and reaches the internal steel rebar, it triggers a rapid oxidation process. The steel expands as it rusts, creating immense internal pressure that literally blows the concrete apart from the inside out, a lethal phenomenon known as concrete spalling. To ensure the stadium wouldn't disintegrate into the ocean within a decade, every single ounce of concrete poured on this project was heavily modified. Engineers mixed massive quantities of industrial silica fume and blast furnace slag into the concrete matrix, creating an incredibly dense, non-porous chemical shield that is practically impervious to chloride penetration. Furthermore, an advanced cathodic protection system was hardwired into the entire stadium. A continuous, low-voltage electrical current is permanently pumped through the internal steel skeleton of the grandstands. This invisible electrical force field actively reverses the electrochemical process of rusting, ensuring that the heavy steel remains structurally flawless even while being battered by freezing, highly corrosive ocean spray. As the colossal, multi-tiered grandstands were slip-formed into existence, hovering precariously over the dark water, the engineers faced their most terrifying opponent yet, the wind. The ocean is devoid of natural windbreaks like mountains or forests, meaning the stadium is fully exposed to the catastrophic, unimpeded fury of Pacific typhoons and hurricane-force wind shears. If the massive stadium roof was built using traditional architectural designs, the extreme aerodynamic lift generated by a typhoon would literally tear the roof off the concrete walls and hurl thousands of tons of structural steel into the sea. The solution was an absolute masterpiece of extreme aerodynamic engineering. The stadium was designed with a sweeping, fluid exterior that mimics the geometry of a massive seashell, but the true genius lies in the colossal compression ring that forms the roof. Thousands of high-altitude ironworkers, suspended from heavy cranes while battling severe ocean wind gusts, welded together a massive, interconnected ring of high-tensile steel trusses. Instead of using heavy, rigid roofing materials, they stretched a massive web of ultra-lightweight, high-strength ethylene tetrafluoroethylene, or ETFE, membrane across the steel. This advanced aerospace material is incredibly strong, yet flexible enough to breathe and shift under extreme wind loads. The entire roof structure acts like a colossal aerodynamic spoiler, violently cutting through hurricane winds and deflecting the kinetic energy down into the deep sea foundation, completely neutralizing the destructive power of the storm. When you strip away the raw concrete, the heavy steel, and the millions of tons of dredged sand, the most jarring and psychologically imposing element of this mega project is the football pitch itself. Traditional stadiums provide a sense of grounded security, but playing in this deep-sea arena is a surreal, almost terrifying experience. The pitch is essentially a highly engineered, floating green oasis, surrounded by an endless expanse of dark, churning water. Below the pristine hybrid grass lies a hyper-complex labyrinth of massive vacuum drainage pumps and hydrostatic defense systems. Because the pitch sits just meters above the high tide sea level, these massive industrial pumps must operate continuously, violently sucking away any saltwater seepage or torrential typhoon rain to prevent the pitch from turning into an ocean swamp. It is a constant, invisible, and desperate mechanical war to keep the dark ocean at bay. Today, as night falls over the stormy coast and the heavy Pacific fog rolls in, this $300 million deep-sea stadium transforms into a glowing, apocalyptic fortress. Tens of thousands of high-intensity LED lights embedded in the ETFE facade ignite, casting a brilliant cyberpunk glow over the black, violent ocean. 63,000 fans cross massive concrete bridges, spanning the dark water, filing into a colossal structure that defies every known law of traditional civil engineering. Inside the bowl, the roar of the crowd merges perfectly with the deafening crash of the ocean waves slamming against the perimeter seawalls just outside the gates. China didn't just build a football stadium on the coast. They executed a hostile, multi-billion-dollar takeover of the ocean itself. By violently dredging the abyss, sinking thousands of tons of heavy steel into the subterranean bedrock, and forging a salt-resistant concrete leviathan that actively fights off typhoons, they have created an architectural monument to human arrogance and extreme engineering. They have proven to the world that with enough heavy machinery, enough hydraulic power, and pure, uncompromising structural brilliance, humanity can literally pave over the raging ocean and play their games directly over the terrifying abyss.